Welcome on into the All Aussie Rules YouTube channel. We've got another season review coming you up today. It is the St Kilda 2025 season review. As each team gets knocked out this season, we're doing a little 25-30 minute video wrapping up their season, looking at all the stats, looking at all the games, looking at all the players behind what went right and what went wrong for each team throughout the season. There's already probably about 6 up on the channel. This is obviously the next one. There's still a couple more to go this week, and then we get into the teams that get knocked out of the finals. So plenty more coming up on the YouTube channel. So hit that subscribe button, hit that noti bell so you don't miss any drops. There's probably 4 to 5 videos going live every single week. We have a podcast as well. It goes live here and Spotify and Apple Podcasts. We have plenty of social media content as well. All Aussie Rules everywhere. So go check it out. Let's jump into the Saints 2025 season. Not a great season. Not a terrible season. Make of it what you will, but we're going to run through it and leave some of our thoughts on the table, I guess. They played 23 matches this year. They won 9 games. Lost 14 of them. Ended up with a percentage of 88.5%. Finished 12th on the AFL ladder, so pretty similar spot to where they were last year. Overall, they averaged just under 80 points per game, which had them as the 12th best or 12th highest scoring team, so quite a fair way down, basically where they finished on the ladder. 90.3 points against, which was the 13th 13th least amount, so nowhere near the best defensively either. They used 39 players, which was the equal 4th most in the competition. They had an average age of 25.26, which was the 13th oldest team in the competition, and an average experience of 97 games per player, which is 11th most experienced team in the competition. They had a record against the top 9 of 2 wins, 11 losses, and a record against the bottom 9 of 7 wins and 3 losses. Basically, it's hard to know what to think about St Kilda. Very, very similar season to last year. They started a little bit better this year, but had multiple runs where they did really poorly. Rounds 5 to 11, they won 1 out of 7. And then rounds 14 through 19, they went 0-6. So those 2 little runs there is pretty much sums up their season, I think. From round 5 to round 19, to be fair, they went 2 and 12. So, 2 and 12 across a 14 game stretch. So the rest of it doesn't look that bad, 7 and 2. But unfortunately, you got to count all parts of the season, and they just didn't quite do great. We go game by game and have a look at their season. Started the season with a pretty hefty loss over at Adelaide Oval against the Crows. Adelaide went on to be minor premiers, so it's not the worst result of all time, but it wasn't the best start they could have had, 63-point losers. Round 2 was a cracker, beating Geelong at Marvel Stadium. At Marvel, they do have good record against Geelong as well. They're pretty close to them most of the time, so nonetheless, one of only 2 wins against top 9 teams that they had for the whole season. So a good one there. They smacked Richmond by 82 points, then beat Port Adelaide at the Adelaide Oval by 17 points. And at this point, they're 3-1 and things aren't looking too bad. But somehow they went to South Australia 3 times in the first 5 weeks thanks to Gather Round, and lost this one to GWS by 28 points. Got smacked by the Bulldogs by 71 points, and then lost by 45 points to the Brisbane Lions. And all of a sudden, their season's back behind the ledger at 3-4. Somehow turned it on to beat Fremantle by 61 in what was their most impressive win of the season. Absolute cracking performance, that one. Fremantle did not show up, but St Kilda were very, very good. They then lost to Carlton, West Coast, Gold Coast, and then just before their bye, they beat Melbourne, who were very inaccurate on the day in Alice Springs by 28 points. So they went into the bye with just 5 wins to their name, 7 losses. Not terrible, not great. It was just kind of basically very similar to what they did last year. I think a few more early wins this season than last year, but overall, just a little bit off the pace. They came out of the bye and it kind of got quite bad there for a little bit, didn't it? They got smacked by the Bulldogs by 72. They were okay against Collingwood when going down by 34. Went across to WA and lost to the Dockers by 12. Hawthorn beat them by 20. Sydney by 5. So they're getting close to some of these games, but just not doing well enough. Geelong beat them by 31 down at GMHBA. And that's a little 6-game losing streak there. They were too far back at the bye anyway, in all honesty. But, yeah, a really, really poor run out of the bye. And then in the next 4 weeks, they get 4 wins. I don't know. This might be a bit harsh, but I don't know if they deserved any of them. But they did get 4 wins in a row. Melbourne, they beat after trailing by like 30, 40 points or whatever the ridiculous margin was. They came back from nowhere. Nasiah Wanganeen-Malira had the greatest quarter, led them to victory, and somehow they won by 6 points. They followed that up with a 9-point win over North Melbourne, which once again, not great, but it was okay. They beat Richmond by 4 points. Again, not a great performance, but they got the points. Beat Essendon by 2 points. Again, not the most impressive game you'll ever see, but they win by 2 points. And then they finish their season with actually an okay performance against GWS, losing by 11 points at NG Stadium. It's hard to know too much about what we can say about St Kilda because, they've just done what they did the year before. It hasn't been much of an improvement, I wouldn't have thought, but going into next season is going to be obviously a really big story for St Kilda. It's well publicised that they're getting a lot of players in, and it will be interesting to see how that affects this team, whether it improves them. It should do. They're bringing in some big name players. Obviously, Wanganeen-Malira, if he goes to another level, who knows what St Kilda are capable of. But as it stands, the last couple of years have been not great performances from them. We'll get to the players shortly. They do have definitely a lot of talent on this list, so we'll get to that shortly, though. Some team stats here. We're not going to go through every single stat here because there's a lot, but feel free to pause it and read through it or screenshot it or whatever. But we'll go through some of the key ones. They're a high disposal team, but they also give up quite a high amount of disposals. 4th most kicks in the competition this season, 7th in terms of disposals. Disposal efficiency, not terrible, 9th in the competition. Kick percent is reasonably high comparatively to other teams. For a team that disposes the ball a lot, and also both teams have a lot of possessions, there's not a lot of inside 50s for or against, in all honesty. They actually give up minus 3.5 inside 50s per game. So not spectacular, 12th best in the competition, but that is kind of where they finished the season on the ladder, so probably expected. Contested football, they're not terrible at. Offensively, they don't get a huge amount, but defensively, number 1 in the competition. So they give up the least amount of contested football in the competition. Is that because they don't put enough pressure? Make of that what you will, but that's just how it is. Intercept game, really low numbers, both for and against. 17th and 2nd. 17th offensively, 2nd best defensively. So low intercept numbers, low turnover numbers, high kick games. They play, a very unaggressive style too often, I think. And then when they let the reins go, they tend to play a lot better, I think, at least. I might be completely wrong. Accuracy, 9th in the competition. Shots per inside 50 is actually 7th best, so not too bad there for a team that's finished 12th. However, defensively, they give up a lot of shots per inside 50. So that's a disappointing number there, 15th best. So basically 4th worst in the competition. Scoring-wise, kick-ins, they're the worst offensively and only 7th best defensively. So they give up a little bit there. Stoppages, once again, they're giving up about 5 points per game. Has them 15th best in the comp. Turnover, very similar, minus 4, 13th best in the competition. Scoring origin, defensive half first, they're not too bad there. Offensively, at least they're pretty good, 34.4, give up 35.5, so only -1, which is 11th best. Forward half is 13th in the competition, and centre bounce scoring, they're 14th in the competition. So across the board, it's hard to find great areas of their game that they manage to consistently do. I think when you look at the numbers, somewhere around about 10 to 15 is probably about right for them, based on what we've seen this year and last year. Moving into the key players here. So first we're looking at the key players that missed 5 or more games this year. This is not everyone that missed 5 games. It's people that I would have considered to be getting more games than they did. So Max King obviously is the big one. He missed every game this season. As a key forward, it's an issue missing that whole season. They had some key forwards that played some pretty solid football at times. Long term, it'll be interesting to see where that goes and what they do, especially bringing in Tom de Koning, and if Rowan Marshall stays as well, then potentially one of them is going to be playing a lot more forward time. Paddy Dow missed 23 games as well. Dougal Howard missed 20. Dan Butler 17. Liam Henry 17. Philippou missed 16 matches. Hunter Clark missed 10. Jimmy Webster 8. Zach Jones also 8. And then Hugo Garcia, Liam Stocker and Ryan Burns all missed 6. And Darcy Wilson missed 5. Players that were on their list this year that have either retired or gone to other clubs. Josh Battle, probably the big one. He went to Hawthorn. His rating at Hawthorn this year was actually lower than it was in 2024. However, he was All-Australian this year. I think, while on paper it's a big loss, I don't know if it's the biggest loss for them, though. They've obviously still got Cal Wilkie, who's one of the best, if not the best, key defender in the competition. And they've got a few young ones that are showing some solid signs. So I think over the next couple of years, I don't think the loss of Josh Battle will be so drastic. It may not have been great for them this year, but I think over the next couple of years, that may not be so much of a problem. Tom Campbell, obviously, he went to Melbourne, didn't play last year or this year, so you can't think of that as too much of a loss. Brad Crouch retired. Obviously was struggling to get a game, as was Tim Membry. He ended up going to Collingwood as an delisted free agent. Obviously, I'm sure St Kilda tried to trade him or tried to do something with him, and somehow they couldn't do that, and in the end he walks to Collingwood for free. I don't think it's the biggest loss for them. He hasn't been spectacular at Collingwood. He's played his role at times. But their key forward stocks are actually pretty decent, especially if they can get Max King fit and playing regularly. Him, Cooper Sharman, Mason Woods played a bit of key forward this year, Mitch Owens, Isaac Keeler. So they do have plenty of numbers down there that can potentially show some good signs. So, yeah, I don't think it's the worst loss of all time, that either. Moving into players by position, starting in the defence. First of all, we have the general defenders. So Nashaya Wanganeen-Malira rates as a general defender, even though he did play a lot of midfield time. He was pretty much exclusively a general defender for the first half of the year, then started to play more and more midfield time throughout the second half of the year. Ends up as the number 1 rated general defender. His numbers this year did skyrocket. He is an absolute talent. He's going to be the highest paid player in the AFL next season. And I think that's probably justified. St Kilda needed to do whatever they could to keep him, because he is an absolute gun and he is an absolute game changer. So massive pick up there to re-sign him. He will pretty much, I would imagine, play full-time inside mid next season. And his numbers potentially will rise again. There's no reason why they can't. These ratings, PS, are the All Aussie Rules rating system. So this is the ratings we give players for every single game and positions we give to each and every player. Um, Also, in the general defending line, we got Jack Sinclair. He actually ended up as the second best, highest rated general defender. Played every game. You know what you're going to get from him. Slightly down on last year's rating, but not by much. So pretty good year again from him. Ryan Burns moved back a bit this year. Last year he was a bit more outside mid throughout most of the year. This year played a little bit more defence time. Not highly rated, pretty similar numbers to last year. Jimmy Webster dropped off a little bit on last year's numbers in terms of rating and rank. Liam Stocker, nothing outstanding from him. Toby Travaugia, first season did okay without being exceptional. Liam O'Connell and Angus Hastie, two lowly ranked general defenders in the competition this season. And Angus McLennan only played the one game. Ari Schoenmaker only played the 3 games. So the top 2 definitely are outstanding. I think they're going to have to find another one or 2 general defenders that can put up numbers of at least 40 to 45 plus in the rating system. With Wangani Malira going into full-time mid, that means that you probably want at least 3 that are averaging mid-40s plus. So probably need to find 2, in all honesty. Who they'll be, I don't know. That might be their biggest challenge going into season 2026. Key defenders. Pardon me. Cal Wilkie, number 1 ranked this season after being number 6 last year. Put up basically the same rating, but others dropped off. Last year, Jeremy McGovern was number 1. A really good season by Wilkie. Put up some really good numbers. So I think arguably he is one of the best, if not the best, key defender in the competition. He does get a bit more of the football than some others, but he does defend really well, and he is a key part of this defence and whole structure that St Kilda has. Anthony Caminti, pretty solid season. He's gone defence this year after a bit more defence after being more forward last year. His rating's gone up a bit. I think he's shown some solid signs. We'll see how that transpires into next season, but I think he didn't miss a game. He played pretty solid throughout. Alexander Taru, he played 10 games in his first season. We saw enough from him to suggest that he could develop into a really good player. We'll see how that plays out. Dougal Howard, he's probably someone that you're looking as your second or third key defender. We only got 3 games out of him at St Kilda this year, so his numbers were about where you kind of expect them to be. So it wasn't a terrible year from him, but just didn't get on the park enough. Zane Cordy played just the 1 game. Didn't see a great amount out of him in that 1 game. Moving into the forward line. General forwards. Max Hall was their number 1 rated general forward. He was actually the 11th best general forward in the competition. Average of 47.94. Really good output from him. Darcy Wilson, he was 46th best. Some solid numbers. Played more forward this year than outside mid. Did still play a little bit of outside mid as well. Jack Higgins started the season fantastic. Was one of the best goal-kicking small, medium forwards in the competition. As far as goals go, other work around the ground maybe wasn't as good as it was last year. His goal-kicking, I think, was better than last year, but the other stuff that he can bring to the team probably was slightly down, I think. As you can see, he went from 23rd down to 50th, 43 rating down to a 38. So it's not a massive drop, but it's a little drop. Lance Collard was unranked last year, didn't put up great numbers this year. Dan Butler, similar numbers to last year, not great, only played the 6 games. Philippou, 7 games, struggled a little bit. Liam Henry, his numbers were way down on last year, only played the 6 games. And Jack Carroll only played the 3 games. We didn't see fantastic form from him. Jumping into the key forwards for the St Kilda Saints this year. Cooper Sharman, 21 matches was their highest rated. He's gone from 18th best key forward in 2024 to the 11th best in terms of rating for 2025. So really, really good year from him. Mason Wood, he's a bit of a everything sort of player. Played quite a lot of games as key forward this year. His rating goes down, but that's because last year he played a lot more up the ground, outside mid, a little bit of everything sort of thing. Whereas this year he spent a bit more time as key forward, still really solid numbers overall. Mitch Owens, his rating went slightly up from his 19 games, so a solid year from him. I think they'll be hoping that it can take another step forward going into 2026. Isaac Keeler, we saw a little bit from him without getting too excited. He played okay. And Alex Dodson played just the one game and didn't even get 50% game time in that, so he doesn't even have a rating. Inside mids, obviously Nashaya Wanganeen-Milera spent a lot of time inside mid in the second half of the season. But of the ones that rated as an inside mid across the whole year, Jack McRae was their highest rated, 21 games. First season for the Saints, more opportunity this year, so that's why his rating has jumped up from the 48 it was last year at the Bulldogs. This is more the numbers we expect from Jack McRae. We know he's a really good player, and he did have a good season. Jack Steele, 21 games, 57 rating, so he went down a fair bit on last year's numbers. Just worth noting that. I don't think it was a terrible season from him, but I think with the addition of Jack McRae and obviously Wanganeen-Milera getting more inside mid-time, maybe just dampened Jack Steele a little bit. He did struggle to try really get into the season, I think, early on. Marcus Windhager, he played every game and put up some pretty good numbers, certainly better than he was last year. It's going to be interesting to see what they do with him next year. Does play a little bit of a tagging role at times. Offensively, can look really good. He can have some big games, but he also has that defensive role in their midfield. Hunter Clark played 13 games, slightly lower rated than last year. Hugo Garcia played more midfield time this year in the 17 games he played. Showed okay ability to be one of the rotating mids, not the full-time mid. Hugh Boxall, 11 games, solid without being outstanding. Zach Jones, 15 games. He's more your rotating defensive mid, and the numbers kind of suggest that maybe his peak is behind him. We'll see how that progresses. Outside mids, Bradley Hill was the only one that actually rated as an outside mid. Obviously, quite a few players did rotate through that kind of role. Certainly, your general forwards and general defenders did all kind of rotate through this spot. But Bradley Hill was the only one that did play a lot of it throughout the season. He went from 19th best last year to 17th best this year, so slightly higher ranked, but his rating did drop a little bit. I think at times he really struggled to impact games. Last year, he was fantastic throughout most of the season. This year, I feel like he just had a few more lull games that didn't really dominate or have as much impact as he did in 2024. The Rucks, they have one of the best in the competition. Rowan Marshall, he had a really slowish start to the season. His numbers not fantastic throughout most of the year, to be fair. He did play every game. He was under an injury cloud early season as well. He was third best in the comp last year, dropped down to 7th best this year. Rating did drop a little bit. I don't think he was terrible. He wasn't as effective as he was last year, though. It's going to be interesting to see what 2026 entails for Rowan Marshall. Harry Boyd only played the one game, was solid. Max Heath played 4 games. Yeah, I don't know what to make of him just yet. I need to see a bit more before we make too much of a conclusion on him. Moving on to I've gone too far there. This one, our position summary. So this is just a little snapshot of players and positions, I guess. Starting off, we'll give a little explanation on the rating system. So top 10% of each position is considered elite. 10% to 25% is top class. 25 to 40 is above average. 40 to 60 is average, and 60 and below is below average. Players that did not play at least 5 games of 50% game time or more is considered unranked. So that's basically how it's worked out. General defenders, obviously, they had 2 elite. One of them was an inside mid most of the season, or a fair chunk of the season at least. So you're looking at maybe a general defender, a key defender, and an inside mid all rating as elite going into next season. You take into account as well, maybe they'll bring in a couple of players. So I don't think any of them are rated as elite, but certainly might be in the above average or better categories. Top class, once again, some solid numbers in terms of players. General forward, 2 key forwards, an inside mid and a ruck. So 8 players in the top 25% of the competition based on their positions in 2025 is pretty solid. Maybe not enough in the above average category, just the 2 players there. And then 4 players in the average category. And I think this is a good little snapshot of maybe what has been St Kilda's problem this year and maybe last year as well. Top end talent, not an issue. 8 players in the top class or better categories, but only 6 players in average or above average is probably not enough. So they're missing that middle area talent. So 14 players in the top 60% is less than a lot of teams that finish below them. So they have the more good, outstanding talent in the competition. They don't have the middle rungs at the moment. 14 players below average and 11 unranked. They need to start getting quite a few of them moving up through average into above average even. So that's probably their biggest chink in their armour, I think, based on 2025 numbers. Only thing we got left to look at is the BNF count. I accidentally showed it before, but this is our BNF count based on our voting system at All Aussie Rules. So top 5 rated players every single game get votes. That's top 5 players from both teams. The winning team gets 10, 8, 6, 4, and 2 votes. Obviously, the best on ground for the winning team gets 10, down to 2. And the losing team goes 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1 vote. No surprise who finishes up on top. Nashaya Wanganeen Malira, 96 votes for the season. Jack Sinclair comes second with 89. Rowan Marshall sneaks into third with 55 over Jack McRae in his first season at St Kilda with 51. Callum Wilkie gets the 40. Jack Steele gets 36. Marcus Windhager, 35 in 7th spot. Then a bit of a gap down to 8th spot, which was Max Hall with 19. Cooper Sharman with 15. Mason Wood rounds out the top 10 with 14. Jack Higgins, 9. Darcy Wilson, 7. Mitch Owen, 6. Bradley Hill with just 4, a long way down on his numbers from last year. Hugo Garcia, 2. And the final one is Hunter Clark with 2 votes as well. So that's pretty much everything for St Kilda's season wrap. I hope you enjoyed this video. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button. Don't forget to hit the like button. Let me know in the comments below if you agree with my opinions. If you've got any great ideas or thoughts on St Kilda, feel free to share them. It was a tough season for them again. Next year's going to be a crazy one. We're going to have plenty of off-season videos coming live onto the YouTube channel as well, whether it's draft videos, free agency, trade, all that sort of stuff. So make sure you stick around, make sure you're subscribed, because there will be plenty of content for St Kilda and for every other club in the competition over the next, well, all the way through the off-season. We're not even at the off-season yet. There's going to be plenty of finals content as well. So I hope you enjoyed this one. We'll be back with plenty more content very soon, including, I think, Carlton mid-season review will be coming up in the next couple of days as well. So make sure you check that out. Thanks for watching, and I'll catch you on the next one.